everybody. I am joined here with Renee King. She is the founder of Rowdy Girl Sanctuary. For those that don't know, Rowdy Girl Sanctuary is a home or a safe place for farm animals who are at risk of being slaughtered. They have a place to call home and a safe space. And I wanted to ask Renee a little bit, she's been doing this for several years, kind of how all of this got started. So Renee, thank you so much for joining us, and we can't wait to hear more about your story.
Oh, thank you, Camille. God, how it got started. It got started on a Texas cattle ranch in Angleton, Texas. I had married my husband, Tommy Sonnen, for the second time. And I never thought me going vegan would almost wreck our marriage, our second marriage. But when you're married to a cattle rancher, especially a Texas cattle rancher, the wife goes vegan the wife going vegan is not acceptable. I mean, it's like oil and water, and it's almost as bad as having an affair. I mean, seriously, it's right up there with with cutting down all loyalty and everything else, because cattle ranching is such a dire traditional thing. So anyway, what happened is I began to wake up. I had an awakening on the ranch when I started bottle feeding a baby calf that was named Rowdy Girl. And that's how we got the name, or how I picked the name, is because she really was my vegan advocate. A lot of people have vegans screaming in their face, throwing blood on themselves, waving a flag or a sign or a bullhorn. My awakening came from a little calf named Rowdy Girl.
So
and I didn't even know I was going vegan, but that's how it happened. And when I finally went vegan, and I'm sure that it's a long story. So when I finally went vegan, it took me about 5 years of just torture and almost going crazy before I put my foot down and told my husband he couldn't sell the cows anymore. That if he did, I was going to go to the sale barn and buy them all back with his, credit card, and I would bring them back home. And I had been gaining a lot of intel on what it meant to be a vegan, because I didn't know. I went vegan, and eventually, a few months later, to my husband's credit, he did too.
And you actually bought back your husband's cows first go around, is that right?
Yes, I did. What we did is, before we became a sanctuary, and when I put my foot down and told him that I would go to the sale barn and buy them all back if he tried to sell anymore, he was real offended. He took his hat off his head. He threw it to the ground. He said, "Over my dead body." I said, "Well, just try me." I said, "Because I will." And so I said, because once you go vegan for the animals, it's like they become like your own family. Like in your mind, you couldn't kill your own dogs or cats. You're consider them family. And same thing when I went vegan on the cattle ranch, the cows then became just like my dogs and cats. And it was so crazy. But so my husband and I struck a deal. And he didn't know that I had started a blog called Vegan Journal of a Rancher's Wife on Facebook. I had started that right when I went vegan, and I started gaining just hundreds and thousands of friends and followers like in a matter of no time, because I was a cattle rancher turned vegan, fleeing out there to anybody that would listen to help me, buy my husband's cows. What was I going to do? How was I going to do this? And so the desperation of my newly awakened vegan heart, combined with my persistence and the knowledge I had on networking, and just, I just don't give up. I am tenacious. And I just kept going and going and going until I, spoke to people like Kip Anderson and Howard Lyman and, and Gene Valver. And I just would keep going until I talked to all the right people in our movement to finally figure out what to do. And I started a fundraiser on Indiegogo to buy back my husband's herd. And he thought I was crazy. He thought I'd never do it. But he said, he kind of laughed at me, and he said, "Okay, Renee, if you think you can buy back my herd, go ahead, give it a shot." Never thinking I would. And I said, "Okay, how much would it cost?" He said, "Well, I can get 36,000 or 36 or 45,000 or whatever at the sale barn, depending on whether some are bred or not, and the weight. I mean, there's all kind of conditions, the market. He said, I'll give them to you for 30. And I said, okay, 30,000. I said, and will you let me lease the land that he owned when we got married? I said, will you let me lease the land for $1 a year? He said, sure, Renee. And he was just like wanting to get over it, And I said, how about 2 years? He said, okay, Renee. And we shook hands in the middle of the pasture, in front of the red trailer. And, in less than 3 months, I raised the money. I raised $36,000 and I bought my husband's herd.
That's amazing. That is such an amazing story. And I think it's so funny, just the relationship that you guys have, true married husband and wife, just that, okay, do what you want to kind of thing. So I think that's just really, really funny how it all kind of came to play. And I'm so proud of you for doing that. So Renee, you have been known. You've been known to sing to the animals too. I had a question for you. I don't know if you've ever been asked this, but what songs do you sing to your animals?
Oh, well, I make them up. I'm a songwriter. And so part of my history is I used to have my own country and western, rock and roll band. And I traveled all over for many years. And that's what I did. And I was also a guitarist and still am, and a songwriter. And I could just make up songs off the cuff. So I will go out there and write them songs. Yeah, you can hear some of them on my website. The Red Trailer got a lot of views. And when I first went vegan, that red trailer haunted me. It was that red trailer that just brought me to my knees, when I would see the babies being loaded up that had been on our pastures for 6 or 7 months, just bonding and with their mothers and trusting us as their stewards. And then, when that time came and you had to lock shut that place in your brain, that would let you care about the animals' well-being, you have to become a cattle rancher and get in the business part of your brain. Whenever that would happen, I just could never quite go there. My husband kept telling me, Renee, you can't think about it the way you're thinking about it. This is our livelihood. This is what we do. This is how we feed, people. This is how it works. And I just could never go there. But I wasn't a vegan. I was just a very compassionate person that just was crushed when the mamas would cry every night and every day when the babies left, and you would see the babies' tears just burst from their eyes. People don't think cows or other animals feel suffering and pain and grief, but they do. And I know it firsthand that they do in many, many, many ways, not just that time, but just from getting to know them. So I wrote the Red Trailer after I went vegan, because for 5 years I suffered twice a year every time that red trailer left our ranch there on Highway 35 and went to the cell barn with all those babies. I suffered, and I wasn't a vegan. I was just another cattle rancher's wife, like many of them out there, that suffered silently.
Well, Renee, I wanted to ask you, because your story actually got national attention, and I know with that comes a whole can of worms itself too. So I was wondering kind of what was the response. You talk about other ranchers' wives, kind of what was the response on social media? Was it positive? Did you have a mixed bag review? What was that experience like?
Whoa, that was crazy. It was on the CBS Evening News, Steve Hartman on the road. That was the first time it went like crazy viral, and like over 1 million viewers viral. And I was just like blown away that happened. And we got a lot of really good reviews, a lot. I mean, that's where we got so much following from vegans out there that were just shocked that a cattle rancher, could go vegan. I mean, oh my God. I mean, they had been hating on cattle ranchers, thinking they were the enemy for so long. And rightfully so. I mean, I understand how they feel that way, but being a former cattle rancher, I understand both sides, so I walk the middle road. I mean, I'm certainly not about, violence and suffering and condoning any of that, but I know how to walk into both worlds so that I can influence ranchers to come our way, and also I can try to influence vegans to say, hey, they're really not the bad guy. The ranchers aren't. The system is.
That actually leads me to my next question because, you got a lot of attention on social media and it sounds like you had feedback from people. And I think just bringing the attention to the sanctuary itself was probably a good thing.
It was a good thing, and we did get some negative things, but it wasn't so bad, the comments, that it scared me at all. My husband would get pissed off and go, he would get all like upset about people not liking, because he's the kind of person that, he really is high in integrity. He's a good person. And for somebody to look at him in a bad way, in a bad light, when it's not true, it just really crushes him. I'm like, bring it on. The more haters you got, the better, the more you're making impact. That's been my attitude. And because you're not going to always be able to please everybody, but we have gotten a tremendous amount of support from the public because of our story. It's been on Southwest Airlines magazine, and it's been on Animal Planet and ABC, NBC. It's a lot of your national and international news stories. So I know our story's been translated in 10 or 11 languages. I'm always shocked when I see our story translated in Sweden or, Greek or Hindu, I'm just like, whoa. But yeah, it's been quite the ride.
That is very cool. Well, I know you stay busy on the farm, definitely, but you stay busy with things outside the animals too, because I know in July you were part of a rancher advocacy program summit where you guys asked the question, what can farmers do on their land to thrive without using animals? So what do you think that farmers and ranchers can do on their land without animals?
Well, the Rancher Advocacy Program, I founded that about 5 years ago and developed it into a thing. July was actually our 4-year birthday wrap. And my co-host and friend and board member, Jane Velez Mitchell, and I decided that we would put these summits on to help raise awareness and inspire, educate, and lead people into a way that we could show them how, ranchers could transition. We could bring thought leaders and academics and scientists and filmmakers and plant-based industry, philanthropy all together to solve this problem. Because for hundreds and hundreds of years, generation after generation, this has been the only way that cattle ranchers know how to farm their land, and they're given tax breaks to farm their land using animals or to grow grain to feed animals. Like 90-something% of all the soy grown in our country is grown to feed animals, not humans. Wrap your mind around that. Over 90% of the soy in our own country grown to feed animals, not humans. So, you can help farmers thrive without using animals by, first of all, teaching them and inspiring them and leading them in a way that can show them not only how they can do it, but how they can make money doing it. That's the big, big sticking point, is ranchers and farmers would all be transitioning to another way if there was a way. It's really a no-brainer, but education is key. Changing things politically in our government is key. We have to be very, very proactive and vocal in our next farm bill coming up. The legislation doesn't just happen magically to help farmers transition. We have to show up on the doorstep of the Capitol if we want to change the farm bill. And we're doing that too. I do that with another organization I'm on the board of called the Agriculture Fairness Alliance. It's a 501c4. And so, like I said, my mission is not really to change the world. My mission is to do everything this body can do to change you, so you also get on board to change the world. Because it takes all of us. It takes every single one of us. And farmers and ranchers that I know right now, are transitioning out of animal ag into like a chicken farm is transitioning into a mushroom farm. We're doing that project in Wicks, Arkansas. And, we saved all of their cows from going to slaughter, 240 of them. And we are transitioning their former chicken sheds that were like 20,000 square foot each into exotic mushroom production. It's got the capacity to yield 30 to 60,000 pounds a week when we are finally finished with this. And so we have a team of people. Again, it's not me doing everything. It's I'm the voice. I'm the network. I'm the bringing everybody together. And then once people get in place, I just keep talking about it, and I won't stop. I won't stop talking about it.
I think that just your passion really shows through, and I think that people who are passionate about whatever they do, they need to just follow your tenacity and just do what they want to do to make a difference in their world. So I just applaud you for that, and I think we can all learn and grow from you.
Thank you for that. It's really important that everybody use their passion and their intensity, and that you stay out of the negative phrase of, oh my God, this is going to happen and that's going to happen, because it's going to happen whether you think it or not. So might as well think on a train of thought that is going to keep moving you ahead of all of the negativity, because there's always going to be bad stuff happening. And if something happened today and our world blew apart and we just all went into a billion little pieces into the atmosphere, I at least know that I live my life on purpose with purpose. And that's what everyone I hope to inspire in my circles will do. Live your life on purpose with purpose. Join people that are doing the same thing. And together we can amplify and accelerate the movement to change the world.
Well, Renee, how many animals do you have on the sanctuary now? And is there room to expand?
Well, we have 137 farmed animals, all rescues. We have 69 cows. Imagine feeding and taking care of 69 cows until the day they die, when they live to be 20 or more. We have a cow out here named Sophie that's 37 years old. Unbelievable. But it's true. And, these animals require so much care, so much care. And as far as expanding goes, we can take more chickens. It's very difficult to take roosters. We have 3 roosters, but roosters require a whole nother level of care, a whole nother level of, enclosures and time, a lot of animal care time that has to be spent with roosters because they can fight if they get together, and it can be terribly horrible, and death can even occur. So, but we can take more chickens. We could take, we have a couple of rabbits. We could take more rabbits, but cows right now, we can't take any more cows. We can't take any more large animals currently. This drought that we are in has just devastated our pastures. And even though we got a little bit of rain the last couple of days, it's in no way near the favorable circumstances needed to grow back our pastures so that our cows can have the grass they need this summer, let alone this winter. Because what's happened is we've used all of our hay almost that was for the winter stores that we always buy up to feed them for the summer when they should have been grazing on hay. So, if the conditions were right here, we could get a couple more cows, but not now. People contact me every single day. There ain't a day that goes by that I don't get contacted by somebody wanting to surrender a cow, a goat, a chicken, pigs, especially potbelly pigs, FFA kids. It never ends. So I do everything I possibly can if I can bring them here. And if I can't, then I am a part of a network that figures out whatever we can do to place them. And I recently worked with a lot of cattle ranchers that have their hearts open for these animals. It happens all the time. We've got 6 or 7 animals out here right now that are surrendered by working cattle ranches. That gives me an opportunity to educate and plant seeds. And, we by no shape, fashion, or form are enemies to cattle ranchers. We welcome them to come here and to understand what we're doing so that we can together, change what we have to do so that they can have a better life. Cattle ranchers can have a better life, and animals can have a better life.
Renee, I have one more question for you because I know our time's running short. I want to be mindful of that for you, but I know you said you've been on both sides of the equation before. You've been with your husband being a beef rancher and then also now becoming vegan. Is there anything that you would say to people who maybe aren't vegan or maybe aren't planning to become vegan at this time, what they can do to love on animals or be compassionate towards cows or anything like that? Like, do you have any advice to people who are in that stage of life?
Yes, always, because I was there one time. I watched every single slaughterhouse video I could get my hands on. I decided that if I was going to participate in an animal suffering by eating their bodies, this is, first of all, people have to get beyond the idea that, oh, it's just, God said that we could eat animals. So I'm eating animals because God said I could. Well, hey, I'm a God-fearing, spiritual girl, okay? But the God I pay attention to in here is one that goes beyond conditioning, traditional violence, and all that. Because nowhere in the history of ever have I read anything spiritually that says it's okay to confine, to kill, to mutilate, to torture, to just breed incessantly, to kill billions of animals a year. 3,000 a second are just like tortured and die. Nowhere in the history of any spiritual context do I see that happening anywhere. So if you're out there wondering, well, should I consider this? Why don't you consider just taking away everything you've been taught and feel from your own heart, feel from your own soul. Use your mind, your heart, and your soul together and put yourself in the shoes, the fins, the wings, the hooves of these animals. Go inside of them for a second and look through their eyes at the humans that are killing them with impunity left and right. Be a chicken for a second and be in one of those cages, those confined conditions where you're being stepped on and mutilated, day after day, where your body's being used to lay eggs every single day. That's all they're used for. They're just crammed in crates so that humans can commodify what comes out of the orifice of their body. I mean, come on. That is not spiritual. There is nothing spiritual about it. Start looking at what you eat as a person, as a body, as a real live being that had families like you. Start putting yourself in their shoes. And just be kind, for goodness sakes. Just be kind. And what you put on your fork and you put in your mouth is one of the best ways you can choose kindness.
Well, Renee, when I think of Be Kind, I definitely think of you. And I thank you for the work that you're doing. And I want to thank you for your time and putting out the information on what Rowdy Girl Sanctuary is doing. And I know that you have a lot in the works. And so we'll definitely look for what you guys continue to do and the changes that you guys are implementing in this world.
Thank you so much, Camille. I appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. And we'll see you guys next week for Degrees of Science.